Welcome to the Refine and Shine, the podcast dedicated to mastering the art of continuous improvement and optimizing every aspect of your life. I'm Angelina Rivera, your host, and together we'll uncover the secrets to refining our lives, our habits, and our processes to unlock our inner brilliance. Join us on Refine and Shine, where we'll delve deep into achieving more in life without the burnout and without all the stress. This podcast is your platform for a more fulfilling life through continuous improvement and personal growth. In each episode, I and a diverse array of guests discuss practical strategies for up-leveling every aspect of your life. From developing good habits and organizing your space to refining your mindset and personal goals, we're going to explore it all. Our guests share personal stories about the systems they've developed or systems they've used and the tweaks they've made in their lives when refinement was needed, allowing them to truly shine. Listen to Refine and Shine to learn how you can implement continuous improvement techniques in your daily routine, develop and maintain healthy habits that lead to success and satisfaction, organize your life to reduce the stress and increase your productivity, foster a growth mindset that propels you to new heights. My mission is to inspire you to take bold action, make positive changes, and become the best version of yourself. Whether you're aiming to elevate your career, nurture meaningful relationships, or enhance your overall well-being, Refine and Shine is your guiding light. With over 25 years of experience in continuous improvement, I help businesses streamline their processes, establish efficient work areas, and implement standard work protocols. I have trained over 600 individuals and teams in process improvement, optimizing workflows, and enhancing overall operational efficiency. Tune in every week as we embark on an enlightening journey, exploring paths to refinement and illuminating the way to shine in every area of our lives. Subscribe now and join us on this journey to polish your life and let your best self shine through. Thank you for joining us on Refine and Shine. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Refine and Shine. I'm super excited about my guest today, and I just getting to know this person. I met them last month, I think. Yeah, last month, and just an amazing person, and I just am so excited to have him here today. My guest today is Larry Steinhouse. He is known as the crazy real estate investor. He has a passion for investing in good, profitable properties, and he specializes in buying properties with little or none of his own money. His favorite method in buying houses is subject to the original mortgage. A close second is seller financing, and then comes private lenders. Larry has been buying houses, even using credit cards as well. As a long-term investor in the business, he knows his stuff. He's a co-founder of Investor Schooling, and he teaches students how to make real money and build real wealth. He has helped his students through every step of the process of searching for, buying, rehabbing, and then renting or selling the property. And so I'm super excited to have you here today. Thank you, Larry, for joining us.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
I think what you have is so amazing. Like when I was listening to you, and well, one, I just got to talk about, I love your clothing. And that's kind of what attracted you to me, because I was wearing a purple jacket when we met, and you were wearing a purple jacket. And I think that was also amazing. But tell me how you got into this real estate and how, like, I read that you bought your first house at 18 years old. So tell us about that.
So when I was 18 years old, I was working for a company called Crazy Eddie. Any chance you remember this company?
It sounds familiar.
Yeah, it's a try. At this point, it's a blip, a blip in history. But this was the largest consumer electronic company in New York area, and it was. I went to work there. I was a technician. I used to repair the VCRs, the TVs, things that nobody even hears of anymore. In fact, I actually repaired one of the very first digital DVD players or CD players that ever came out. So it was kind of neat, knowing that I was one of the first people to repair one. So, and at the time I was 18 years old. And at that point I was making $5 an hour. And I just want you to know that was over minimum wage. So if you guys complaining that, you guys want, $15 an hour, I was making $5 an hour, and I was over minimum wage. Minimum wage at the time, I think, was 3.25. So my head technician, or the guy who, my boss, my manager, whatever you want to call him, was a guy named Jim, and he was buying properties in a town called Belmar, New Jersey. And we would sit around because we're fixing stuff. We talked to each other. He was telling me about how he's buying these properties, and he's renting them out. He's making money. And I don't know about you, but most people remember when they were 18. Remember when you were 18 years old, Angelina,
Yeah.
and you knew everything? You were
I
smarter
thought I
than your
did.
right. You were smarter than your parents. You were smarter than everybody out there, right? So wait.
Yeah.
So if this guy could do it, I'm 18 years old. I'm the smartest person on the planet. I could do it too. So one day I decided I'm actually going to do it, but I wasn't sure how to do it yet. And I used to work out. You can tell I haven't been there in a little while. Anyway, so I'm at the gym, and you remember when you were at the gym, or when last time I don't know if you ever went to the gym or if you ever went like on a stationary bike or elliptical or anything like that. What did you do to entertain yourself? What do you do now to entertain yourself?
I listen to music.
Right, you listen to music, or you take your iPad out and you watch a video or something, right? Exactly, right. Well, at that point, there was no such thing as iPads. There was no such thing as digital music. I mean, you had to carry around a big boom box. So
Hmm.
so I'm there, and I forgot to bring something. I don't know if you guys remember this. There's things called books.
Yeah.
That's what we used to entertain ourselves with when we were on the elliptical or the stationary bike. And I forgot to bring my book. So also at that time, there were these books in the lobby of just about any store you ever went to. It was called a real estate book. And it was a big, thick book because there was no MLS at the time. Real estate agents would print they would print their listings in this book called the real estate book. So I was bored. I grabbed a book. I start going through, and I find this property in Easton, Pennsylvania. Now, at the time, I'm living a place near Princeton, New Jersey. I didn't know it, but it was an hour and a half away. But whatever. I called the real estate agent. It was listed for $26,500. It was a two-family house. So I said, "All right, I'll take a look at it." And I go there. I drive the hour and a half. She takes me through it, and she says, "What do you think?" I said, "I'll take it." And she goes, "Great. Can you write me a $500 check for a deposit?" And I looked at her. I said, "I don't have $500." And she goes, "Well, can you write me $100 check?" I was too embarrassed to tell her I didn't have $100. But I wrote her a check anyway. I'll figure out a way to get it, make it good. Well, after about a month, I actually closed on that property, and I was making about $200 a month. And then I buy this book called No Money Down by Robert Allen, and I read how I did it. And the interesting part was at 18 years old, I figured out that I could get the deposit money for my credit cards. So that's
Mm.
exactly what I did. I got deposit money for my credit card. Now I'm making about at the time making about $200, $250 a month positive cash flow in this building. And then I make one of the dumbest mistakes I've ever made was I sell the property a year later for a 50% profit. Now you're like, hey, that's pretty great, man. You made 50% of your money. That's fantastic in one year. Well, it was great. But if I would have kept that property long term, probably now it's probably worth about 350,000, and I'd probably have about $3,000 a month positive cash flow. Now that's a long time ago, but understand that that's the beauty of buy and hold. So that was my very first property at 18 years old.
And then it just skyrocketed from there. You just started buying more
No,
houses.
yeah, and yes and no.
Okay.
So the Larry Steinhouse story gets more interesting. So I start buying houses. You're right. I start buying more houses. And what happened was we get to around 2006, and I've got at the time around 2006. You start to notice that. So first of all, my strategy was very simple. My strategy was I would buy houses, I would collect rent, I would pay the mortgages with the rent, and I'd be very conservative. Now, come around 2006, right before 2008, if you get the hint, 2006, my friends who never did any real estate in their entire life are buying houses for $100,000, and they're selling them a week later for $130,000. And I'm like, wait a minute, I must be doing something wrong. If these guys are making 30 grand like that, I must be doing something wrong. So I decide to change my strategy to the stupid and greedy strategy. And in the stupid and greedy strategy, this is what you do. You buy houses that don't cash flow. You buy houses that are overpriced, and you hope that housing will always go up. Kind of like Bitcoin, thinking the price of Bitcoin will always go up, and of course it doesn't. The same with houses. Houses always go up, but sometimes they come down for a while before they go up.
Hmm.
So come 2008, what happens? The
All the
entire
houses.
world crashes, right?
Hmm.
Huge economy crash. So at the time, maybe 2007-ish, I had $3.9 million worth of properties, and I owed $3 million, which isn't bad. It's not that bad. That's not a bad equity. It's almost $1 million equity in just houses. Well, all of a sudden, I'm starting to notice that the houses are worth 2.7 million. Now they're worth 2.5 million. Now they're worth 2.2 million, and I'm not cash flowing anymore.
Oh,
So
wow.
I can't sell these properties, and I can't afford to keep these properties. So I had nothing. There was nothing more for me to do except to go bankrupt. So in 2008, I literally went to an attorney's office. I said, "Look, I got to go bankrupt." And he said, "Well, what's your credit score?" Which was a funny question. I go, "What's the difference?" He goes, "What's your credit score?" I go, "740." He goes, "Nobody goes bankrupt with a 740 credit score." I go, "I will." And he goes, "What do you mean?" And I showed him all the numbers. And I said, "I can't maintain this anymore." And he said, "Oh, now I get it." So unfortunately, I had to go bankrupt. But it was interesting because at the bankruptcy hearing, the trustee, when they sold the properties for about $750,000.
Oh,
That's how
wow.
bad the market crashed. So so technically, it was a really good business decision because it was a lot faster for me to recover from bankruptcy than it was for those properties to recover and be able to get what even paid for them, and what I even owed on them.
Hmm. Wow, that's really interesting. And then from there, like right now today, like how many properties do you have, or do you still do the strategy? I mean, of course, you changed it a little bit. Are you now back into the renting out
Yeah,
as well?
no. So I now, yeah, of course, I have dozens and dozens and dozens of properties. I have more properties than I need to pay my bills. It's fantastic. I could retire. I mean, I did retire, is what really happened, and I opened a business school because I was bored. So now what I do is I teach how to do it. But the properties now pay for themselves, of course, and of course, I have great cash flow. I also own a couple of. I own one mobile home park. I own a couple of commercial properties. I just bought a property today at the auction, which we'll see how that works out. So it's all kinds of different stuff that I do, and it's just fun. It's fun to buy properties and fun to learn. It's like I play Monopoly for a living, you know.
I love that. So can you tell me a little bit about your investor schooling? Like what is that about and what do you help people do?
So I actually help people to learn how to do what I do. So I don't not only do I teach real estate investing, but I also teach stock options. I teach the stock market. I teach money. I actually wrote a book and it's called Money Hacks because everything you think you know about money is wrong. And this book is everything that I teach. It's actually like 100-foot overview of investor schooling, but there's so many things in here. There's things about rebuilding a credit because I was able to rebuild my credit right after my bankruptcy and I now have $1.1 million worth of available credit on cards.
Huh.
$1.1 million that I could charge on credit cards. And it's funny, everybody asks me the same question, right? Which is, why? And I'm like, you know what the answer to that question is? You know what I could do with $1.1 million worth of available credit on credit cards?
Anything.
Anything I want. Yeah, exactly. Right. Anything I want. How many times do you have a problem where you're like, oh man, if I could just float for another 6 months, I come on the other end. I mean, I float a lot. Sometimes I'll make $200,000 in a month, and sometimes I won't make anything for 5 months. So I need to float. So
I,
these are things that it helps.
I love that. And something to think about too is like, you don't there's ups and downs, but you have it where you now have more of a cushion or safety net where and that's been learning from your hard mistakes, right? Like you had made some mistakes and that's okay. Like we all have to take lessons and these lessons, as long as we learn how to make it like whatever happened to us, how can we make it our lives better because of this and now you're also teaching others on how to do the same thing. So I think that's really remarkable.
Well, thank
Uh,
you.
one
I
of the
think it's
things
remarkable too. I love being remarkable.
One of the things that I wanted to know is like how, like with the market is the way it is right now, how do you get it? Like, is it a scary time to buy right now? Or, with all the unknowns, like when is the right time to buy? I
Okay,
guess
you
is,
ready?
yeah,
I want you to look at your watch right now. Okay,
now.
right now. I want you to look at your watch right now. Now,
Yeah.
5 days from now, will you look at your watch and say,
Now,
now? 5 years from now, will you look at your watch and say,
now.
now? It's always the right time to buy real estate. The real question is that piece of property the right property to buy? That's the only question. Can I get it at the right price to make money? If I can get it at the right price to make money, absolutely. Now, then people say, well, there's no good deals out there. And I'm going to say, how long have you been looking for deals? Well, I haven't been because there's no big deals out there. Well, if you haven't been looking, then you have no idea there's no good deals out there, right? If you start looking, you'll uncover deals. You may not buy every property you look at, but you will certainly start to uncover deals and start to know what a good deal is.
No, that makes sense. I mean, my husband and I, we play Zillow, where we just kind of go on Zillow and we kind of look. And a long time ago, we used to actually be in did real estate where we would send out the postcards. There was the
Sure.
MLS, but we still would do the postcards. And we did that when we had little children. So that way we could do something at night, make some money. We'd get like 1% of every property that we sold. And I'd go out and I'd help somebody, a broker. I'd go take the pictures for her, upload them on the website because she didn't want to do it in the evening. She worked all day. She didn't want to do it where I worked. And I was like, well, I can go along, have the kids in the car with my husband, and I can take these pictures, upload them at night, and we'd still make some money.
Well,
Um,
here's this. What if you would have bought all those properties?
I know.
You know how rich you'd be right now? That's
Sure.
the mistake, right? Real estate agents also make the other mistake, right? Real estate agents like, oh, I'm going to make 6% if I sell this house. Who cares? I'm going to make 6% a month if I buy this property
Yeah.
over and over again forever. And I'm also going to get, I'm also going to get appreciation. I'm going to get depreciation on my tax. I'm going to save taxes, and I'm going to be worth something one day. Multi-millions of dollars. I'm a
Yeah.
multimillionaire because I own properties, and it's so easy to become a multimillionaire. People don't even realize they're like, I'll never be a millionaire. I go to work every day. Stop going to work and start buying real estate. Buy real estate, and you'll be a millionaire.
You make it sound so easy.
It
So tell me.
is.
Yeah. You're like, for me, like, I'm like, tell me how to do this. And I know, go and enroll in your school, right?
Well, of course. I mean, look, do you need my school to do it? No. I mean, I'll give you shortcuts because, I've been doing it for 43 years and you're buying my knowledge. That's what you're doing. You're buying my knowledge, which is fine. But not even the point. People they don't even want to try to take the chance. Like, oh my God, what if I mess up? Who cares? You know what the
Yeah,
average person retires with at age 65? How much money they have when they retire at age 65?
I do
Average
not know.
person is around $200,000.
Oh, wow.
So they retire, right? They retire at 65 with $200,000 to their name. How long do you think somebody can last on $200,000? If they take $10,000 a year, they can last 10, 20 years. I mean, come on. It's so take the risk. So what
Yeah.
happens? You go buy a property with the $200,000 and you fail miserably. Matter of fact, this is the absolute worst thing that happens, right? The house burns down and the land underneath it falls into a giant sinkhole 7 miles deep and you lost your 200,000 because that's the only way you can lose 100% of it. And you didn't have any insurance, right? That's the only way. I mean, even if the place burns down, the land is still worth something. You didn't lose your whole $200,000, right? So you have an asset that now can grow, and you can get rent off this asset. Or if you don't want to do that, lend money to a real estate investor, and then they'll pay you 6, 7, 8% a year, and you'll make money on that. Nice and easy.
Well, that's really smart. I never even thought about it that way too. It's like you don't always that way, just if you had some money, have somebody else invest it with the properties and then they're paying you back.
That's one way. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. That's awesome. When you look at properties, I mean, you have all those properties now. Did you give me the number? I forgot if you gave me the
Nope.
number. Okay. You have a lot of properties.
Yep.
And do you have them in just throughout the United States or how do you do it?
So they're on the East Coast. So
Okay.
I have a lot of Pennsylvania, got a few in Delaware, some in Jersey, and also in Florida.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. I think that that's what's really cool too is like you're doing all these things. You have this amazing program. You were bored, so you started doing the investor schooling,
Right.
and all of these things. And so you can show that like back then, if you think about it, you said in 2008 you went bankrupt, and here we are, not that far from that, and you are now, you know, have 1 point something million dollars in credit card
That's
availability.
just yeah, just credit card, right?
Yeah,
Exactly, right. I also have
not
personal loans. I have money. I can access money at any time.
Yes. And that's the goal, right? For all of us. We should not be so restricted. But you had to take risks to get there. And that's the thing. We got to take the
No,
risk.
no.
Oh,
You want to know what the risk
okay.
is? The risk is not doing anything.
Yeah.
What possible risk did I take? I bought a property. That's not a risk. You want
Right.
to know what
You're
a
right.
risk is? Not buying a property. Because the risk is I'm going to end up with $200,000 at age 65 to my name. That's it. Not even owning a house. Maybe I own a house, maybe I don't, but $200,000 to my name. That's the risk. So sitting there doing absolutely nothing but going to work every day is the absolute worst risk you can take.
We'll be back after a quick break.
Feeling overwhelmed by endless to-do lists and constant distractions? You're not alone. Many professionals and entrepreneurs struggle with never-ending tasks that spill into personal time, difficulty prioritizing what's truly important, a lack of clear structure in their daily routines. Well, let me introduce you to your Unlock Your Time Potential program, an 8-week coaching program designed to help you reclaim your time and boost productivity. What you will gain is proven strategies to manage your day effectively, techniques to eliminate distractions and stay focused, tools to align your daily actions with your long-term goals. Ready to take control of your time? Join the waitlist today and be the first to know when enrollment opens. Don't miss the opportunity to transform your productivity and achieve your goals. Check out the link in the summary notes.
That makes a lot of sense. Not taking the action to do something.
If you don't make any changes, things are going to stay the same.
If nothing changes, nothing changes. You can't
Yep.
expect something if you don't, make a change to do something.
Mm-hmm.
So I
So,
think that's
how many podcasts did you do before your first podcast?
none.
Right. It's funny they had to think about that for a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Now, you've done quite a few podcasts, yes?
Yeah, I my podcast actually I did a few podcasts on other people's podcasts, but when I decided to do a podcast, I kind of some of the stuff that's thinking about that probably went through my mind. What went through my mind was, oh, so many people are doing podcasts, why would they listen to me? But then I was like, why not? I'm different. I have something else, and like I have stuff to say, so I'm gonna go and do a podcast.
Yeah, you
And
ready for this?
Yeah.
Even better. Who cares?
Yeah,
Let people,
exactly.
if you have a podcast and 3 people listen to it, you had fun doing a podcast.
Yeah.
What did it cost you? A set of headphones?
Yeah.
Maybe a nicer camera?
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yep.
So you had fun, and what's the worst possible thing that can happen because you started your podcast?
Can't think of anything.
Nothing, right? What's the
Right.
best possible thing that can happen?
I can make connections with great, amazing people.
No, that's not even the best. That's the obvious, right? The
Yeah.
best possible scenario is Joe Rogan becomes the number 2 podcast, right? Right? You gotta think big, right?
Yeah.
So that's the best scenario, right? But in a normal average scenario, people are gonna get to know you, they're gonna get to know your guests, they're gonna be happy with you, they're gonna say, hey, I saw your podcast, it's gonna make you feel good. Just do it.
Yeah. Thank you. You're helping me so much today. Love this conversation.
This is what I do. This is how I coach, by the way.
Oh, I love it. I think that's awesome. Just getting just putting things into a different perspective, I think is also what we need sometimes as a reminder. And
Sure.
so thank you for that as well. And I just think that, I like see you doing all these things. You, with your schooling, also said briefly before we started rolling, you also have a radio show you do as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, every Saturday I have a radio show from 1 to 3, and I talk about money. So I have myself, I have my 2 co-hosts, Omri and Dr. Deb Anderson, and the 3 of us have a conversation about money. Now it's funny because the show, we've been doing the show for like, I don't know, 8 years. And, at the beginning it was like, very regimented about money. So before these guys even came on, it was me and another person, then it was me for a little while, then it was me and these 2 guys. And after a while, money becomes boring, right? Because we talk about it every week. So our radio show is now just whatever we want it to be. So we do talk finances, and a lot of people call in and they ask us questions about finances. And it's such a blast. You can listen to the show on WPHT 1210 between 1 and 3. And you could actually just go, so it doesn't matter where you are, you just get the app, go to, just type in 1210 WPHT, and you could download their app and you could listen to it during that time. Or if you follow me on Facebook, which I suggest you do anyway, you follow me on Facebook, we also do a video broadcast of the radio show as well. I think the video broadcast of the radio show is even more fun, only because you get to see our faces and expressions. And, we have fun with each other. Sometimes we're insulting each other. Sometimes we're fighting with each other. So it's kind of fun to watch our expressions. Oh, what did you do?
Hold on real quick. My laptop's gonna die. I'm just like you earlier. I have
You didn't plug in your laptop for me? They didn't tell you that I could talk for hours?
No, I don't know what happened to my cord.
Oh
Wrong
my
cord.
goodness.
Sorry.
All right. Well, in case we lose power, everybody scan the QR code and you can reach me.
We will not lose power. But no, I really like that. I mean, this is real life too. This is what happens. Like, it's not imperfect
Yeah.
action.
Yeah, exactly. So here's life, right? Oh my God.
Yep.
You know what? I bet you never thought that you could be doing a podcast and you forgot to plug in your laptop and the power might go out.
Never thought that before.
Right? So
Yeah.
and I bring that up. I bring that just to make a little bit of fun of you, but I also bring it up because that's the things that happen. So when you start doing things and start changing your life, there's going to be these little surprises, and the little surprises are learning lessons, right? So again, I'm not trying to belittle you. I'm actually trying to show the audience something. So what is the number one thing you just learned from plugging in your laptop during a podcast?
The number one thing that I learned while plugging in well,
Right.
one that I should have been prepared.
No, you're
Oh,
right. But
okay.
by doing what?
By just making sure it was plugged in. But
Right. There you go. Exactly.
yeah.
Right. So now every time Angelina does a podcast, she's going to plug in her computer before she starts it. Now, again, I mean, it sounds obvious. It sounds simple, but this is what happens when you make a mistake while you're doing something. Like even my first property, when I bought my very first property, I was 18 years old, like I said, and I had no idea how to rent properties. I just knew that somebody signed a lease. And we all know, what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to talk to the old landlord and ask what kind of tenant they were, right?
Mhm.
So here's what happened. I called the landlord and I said, "Hi, my name's Larry. Angelina wants to rent from me. What kind of tenant were they?" "Oh, they were fantastic. They were the greatest tenant ever. You need to take her. She's great." Right? And then
Mhm.
they come in, they move in, and they never paid their rent on time. And I'm like, wait a minute, the old landlord, oh, I get it. If he would have said that they didn't pay their rent on time, I would have said no, and he'd still be stuck with them.
Yep.
So that is not a good way to do this. So you know what I mean? Literally, the very next rental I had up until 43 years later, I used the same way to interview a landlord. "Hey, Angelina, my name's Larry Steinhouse. Steve wants to rent an apartment from me. He said there were problems. How bad were they?" And the
I like that.
reactions I get are hysterical. They're anything from, "What are you talking about? He's never been late," or, "I'm surprised he told you."
Oh, okay.
So I've gotten those answers. I'm like, okay, well, what was your side of the story? And then I actually got one that said, "I'm sorry, I can't talk about it because of a court order."
Oh, wow.
So
That's
what would have
interesting.
happened if I would have said, "Hey, what kind of tenants?" "Oh, they were great. They paid the rent on time,"
Yeah, they
and
just
that would
want
have
them
been
out
the
of the
end of it.
house. Hmm.
And that would have been the end of it. And then I would have taken them, and that person with the court order, imagine what kind of tenant these people must have been. They must have been nightmares,
Oh, yeah.
right?
That and that's I love how you did that. You just changed, you learned your lesson, you just changed just changed the way the question. You're still
Yep,
asking the question, you just changed it up a little bit to make it so that you get the answers or the reactions a little different. I love that.
yep, exactly. And then I talked to the tenants, the same thing, right? Rent's due on the first. On the second, it's late. On the fifth, it's $150 late fee. And on the 15th, I file for eviction. Now, listen, Angelina, I'm really excited about renting to you, but I want you to understand that I will file for eviction on the 15th. So if something comes up, you get into a car accident, your grandmother dies, you have the flu, make sure you call me. I'm going to send you flowers, but I'm still filing for eviction on the 15th. Do we understand each other?
Wow.
Now I've got people going, this guy's serious. Right now, I'll tell you, it's funny because every once in a while I'll say that. And one time, the funniest answer I ever got was, "My last landlord didn't file for 3 months.
Oh, wow.
Sorry, I'm not taking you as a tenant." End
I
of
like that.
discussion. I'm just not taking you as a tenant, right?
Yeah.
But
Yep.
most of the time, it's funny because I say it twice. I say it at the application point, and then I say it when I give them the keys. And when I give them the keys, people stop me in the middle. And they go, I know, you're gonna file on the 15th. You'll never be late. I promise you'll never be late. I promise you'll never be late." And it's very funny how I could tell the ones that are never going to be late are the ones that say that, and I have almost never had people pay their rent late, almost never.
That's awesome. Do you ever have to have people file for evictions those time?
So in 43 years, ready for this?
Uh-huh.
I had 3 evictions, and
Oh,
2 I worked it out before we went there
oh, wow.
because of the way I'm landlord now. I'm going to tell you something too, especially for people who want to get into this for the first time. There is no such thing as bad tenants. There's only bad landlords. And if you don't know how to handle a tenant, what you call a bad tenant or a good tenant or any tenant, if you don't know how to handle a tenant, you're a bad landlord and it's your fault. I find this all the time. People come to me, oh, it took me 7 months to get rid of the guy. I'm like, no, it didn't. No, really, he didn't pay me rent for 7 months. I'm like, oh, that's a different story. When did you file? Well, I kept believing he was going to pay. Oh, so whose fault is it? Yours or his?
There's
And then they realize it's their fault.
That's very interesting. I like the way that you put everything into perspective, and it's just like shifting the perspective and looking at it a different way. I think it makes sense. And people do that in life, right? They always blame everybody else, but
That's
they
right.
don't look at what they themselves have
That's
done
right.
wrong. So I
Right.
think
You want a
that's
guaranteed fail. You want a guaranteed fail in your life. Here's a great way to guarantee a failure in your life. Blame other people for your problems. And you'll always be a failure for your entire life, and everybody in the world will always be your enemy. You want to know how to be a guaranteed winner? Blame yourself for everything that happens. Right? So 2008, whose fault was it that I went bankrupt? Was it,
yourself.
well, no, you sure it wasn't the bank's fault for selling me, predatory mortgages? Oh, they were predatory. They took advantage of me. They sold me these properties that were terrible deals. Oh my, no. It was me, 100% me. Never
Mhm.
blame anybody else for your problems. Never blame God. Never blame your spouse. Never blame your parents. It's 100% you. I love the people who go, well, my parents treated me like crap, so that's why I don't live a good life. Well, how long you want to not live a good life? Are your parents standing next to you right now? No, so stop blaming them. The spouse one is my favorite. It's my wife's fault or it's my husband's fault. And look, and then I could be, sometimes people consider me insensitive when I say something like that, because it, it- you know, I was in an abusive marriage. Oh no, I'm in an abusive marriage. Is what some people say. They could be men or women, and I'm like, when you say abusive, what do you mean? And they literally say he or she hits me and beats me. Well, whose fault is that now? Now they struck the first punch. That's 100% on them. But the fact that you stay there is your own doing. Get the hell out of there. I don't care how you get out of there. Just get out of there. There are shelters. There are relatives. There are friends. Just get out. Okay. I mean, I realize that was, again, a lot of people think that's insensitive, and half the people, that are in that situation just shut off this podcast. But the truth is the truth.
Oh, that's reality. And there's been situations like, I mean, I've known people that have left in the middle of the night if they had to, because you got to get
Good.
you can't continue to
Yep.
go through those types of
Yep.
things.
Yeah. And friends like you, they could come to friends like you, right?
Right.
If you had a friend that was in that situation, you come over here right now, and I will have a shotgun at the door if your abuser shows up. That's how I feel about it.
No, I understand. Totally get it. So I just appreciate I mean, we went a totally different
Yeah, it
spot,
happens
but
all the time with me.
I just truly appreciate and all the things that you do, and like you do your teachings, you do your investor schooling, and what else do you have out there that you do?
Well, I own a bunch of properties, obviously. I have investor schooling. I just sold my ice cream store. That
You
wasn't
know,
that wasn't a great thing. That didn't work out really well. But that's okay. I don't care because it didn't matter. I actually partnered with one of my students on an ice cream store. I bought the store. I bought the building. I put the store in there. I did everything, and it just didn't work out.
okay.
So I sold it. So no big deal. I have, I don't know. I have a car collection. I don't know I'm not even sure where to go with this. I teach people money. That's my favorite thing to teach. Stock options. I make a lot of money doing stock options, so I can teach people how to do that. That's fun too. And then I do podcasts when great people like you ask me to.
I really thank you so much for that. I really want to go back real quick though. Like you collect cars as well. Is that what you said?
So I don't really collect. I have a car collection. It's not really collecting cars. I have interesting cars. So like if I see a really interesting car, I buy it. So like for example, I have a 1920 Ford Model T.
Okay.
Is one of my cars. So I just like, I mean, they're not, you know, I bought a Corvette once. I bought like a Z07 Corvette, about 5 or 6 years ago, 7 years or 8 years ago, whatever. And, it was a really expensive car. And it was a lot of fun to drive. Actually, it wasn't even fun to drive, which was part of it. It was so difficult to drive because the engine was so powerful and it was a stick shift and it was so hard to finesse the pedals to keep the wheels from burning out. I just, and it wasn't that comfortable. And then I ended up selling it. And I realized for the price of that car, I could have some fun cars like my Model T. I have a Mustang. I have a 2007 GT, a Shelby GT Mustang. So it's kind of fun. I have some cool, some interesting cars, and you see people will see them like, wow, I haven't seen that car in a really long time, but they don't think about it being worth a whole lot of money. My whole car collection is probably worth about $150,000, and there's 8 cars in it. You
Oh, wow.
know, so
Yeah.
it's not that big of a deal. But the cars are different. Like, people will come up to me like my Jaguar. People will come up to me like, "Wow, I haven't seen this car in a really long time. It's in really good shape. It even still has the handheld cell phone in there from the era
Oh,
of that car because it's 1989." And I don't want to take the cell phone out because that's what people had in that year. They had those cell phones. In fact, this car sold for $60,000 in 1889, and that would be probably about $200,000 now, maybe more, maybe 250 now, especially with the current inflation, right? And the rich people who bought this car put cell phones in them, and the cell phones, when you put them in, they were $5,000 at the time. So it was, something very interesting that, it's just like a piece of nostalgia to me.
yeah. I think that's really neat. My dad has a 1938 Master Deluxe,
Oh, nice.
and he still drives it. Like he goes to car shows and drives
Yeah.
it, and yeah, it's pretty cool.
So you get it.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. We cars are one of our things too, and so I
Yeah.
think that's awesome.
Good. Cool.
I think one of the other things that you said, okay, your books. You have that book, The Money Talks. I think it
Money
was
hacks.
Money
Money
Hacks.
hacks. Yep.
And then what is that the only book you have, or is there other books you have as
So
well?
this is the best book I have that I've
Okay.
written. All right. I wrote another book called If I Won $25 Million in the Lottery, a book about money, hope, and happiness. And that book, it's a really good book. I wrote it in 2009, and I wrote how I was going to recover from my bankruptcy, like how I was going to become a multimillionaire again. And it's funny because some of my students have read that book, and one of them came to me and said, "Larry, I noticed you did everything you said you did." And remember, I wrote this in 2009, saying what my future life was going to be. So it's almost like a vision board in writing. So
I love
except for
that.
the name of the book, which is If I Won $25 Million in the Lottery, a book about money, hope, and happiness, the book is great. The name is just dumb. And,
Okay.
it's okay. It was the first book I ever wrote. I didn't know much about, about marketing and books, but it's a really good book because, I sit there and declare that I'm going to do this. I'm going to declare I'm going to do this. I declare I'm going to do this, and how I don't have to win the lottery to do it.
I love that. I
Because
love
that
that.
because that's the whole theme. The whole theme is if I won 25 million, I would do this, I would do this, I would do this, I would do this, I would do this. And at the end, I admit that I don't need to win the lottery to do it. I just have to go do it.
You just have to take action.
Yep.
I like that. I like that. That's well, I loved wrapping like talking all this, about all these different things and getting to know you a little bit more. I mean, we met in March and it was just the event we went to was super great. I've never
Yeah,
had
we
been
went.
to an
We met at
event.
Secret Knock, right?
Yeah, Secret
Yeah,
Knots.
I will be a speaker at Secret Knock next year.
Oh, really? Awesome.
Yeah. So you have the skinny on that, and you have me on your podcast before I become super famous at Secret Knock.
I think you're pretty famous now. I mean, when I told people I was having you on my podcast, they're like, "Oh my gosh." They were pretty
Oh, that's
excited.
awesome.
Yeah. So I think
That
that's
makes me feel
awesome.
good. Now I feel really good. Now I feel like I'm important.
And I follow you on Facebook, I follow you on Instagram and all the things
Oh,
that you
awesome.
share. So I think it's pretty awesome. I was also able to get that book that you Money Hacks.
Yep.
So I gotta dig into that. It's just a good reminder to dig into that. Also, some actions I taken is not stop waiting to buy more property. Like just do it. As long as looking at everything. Like there's a piece of property I'm like looking at. I'm like, maybe I don't want to live there now, but I might eventually. But I can buy
Well,
it
it's not about
now.
living there. It's about being an investment property. Buy
Right,
investment properties. So a
right,
house you live in is not an investment. A
right.
house you live in is a liability.
Okay.
Even if you own it, it's a liability. Matter
Yeah.
of fact, some really high-powered investors started out renting their home while they bought investment properties. My partner does that. My partner rents his home. He rents
Mm,
an apartment complex and he has all these properties and he makes a whole bunch of money with these properties. He could buy $1 million house right now, but he doesn't yet because he keeps using the money to buy more properties, and he could buy any house he wants. So don't get confused. Like a house that you live in is not an investment. Investment gives you money. A liability you pay for. So that's why house you live in is a liability.
Right. Well, the thing that I've been thinking about is there's these properties that eventually I would love to live there when I'm older,
Okay.
and downsizing in life, but can buy the property now, rent it out, and then when
Absolutely.
I'm ready, I can move in.
Absolutely. You can do that too, but you don't just buy one.
Yeah. Oh, well, there's two I'm looking at.
No, don't, not two. You want to buy 30 or 40 or 50 properties. And that, remember, if you make $200 a property, just $200 a property, right?
Mhm.
10 properties is what?
200,
$2,000 a
2000,
month
yeah.
extra, right?
Yeah.
Can you use $2,000 a month extra?
Oh, sure.
Now, if you could buy properties with absolutely no money out of your pocket, like take no money out of your pocket whatsoever, in fact, get money back at closing like I do. So like my last property I bought in Florida, I bought a property in Florida. I got $27,000 at closing. So I bought the property. I got paid $27,000 to buy the property. And then I'll rent that property. I'll probably make, I don't know, maybe 100 to 150 to $200 a month positive cash flow, right? And it cost me nothing. I made money buying that property. How many of those you want to do?
As many as I
All
can.
of them, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, right? How many properties? All of them. So once you learn how to do this, this is what we teach. We teach people how to buy properties with absolutely no money. And once you learn how to do that, it becomes addictive.
Yeah.
Because when you realize that you can have any property you want, you can have any property you want without any of your own money. You go and you start looking for properties.
Yeah. I like that. I need to take
Go for it.
action. I know. I know. Especially with where I live. I live in California, so there's a lot of property out here but also looking to see other properties. Doesn't have to be like you don't have to just look in your own area. There's like the world is out there to conquer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
As we wrap up though, one of the things I'd love to, and you probably have said this again, said that kind of throughout the podcast, but what is one thing that a word or a phrase or just something you want my listeners to do today, to take action in order for them to refine and shine in their lives?
One thing,
You can tell them, you can say a few things.
be a legend.
Be a legend.
Right. Wake up every morning and decide to be a legend. That's the number one thing. As a matter of fact, it's the last part of my book. I talk about being a legend, right? Everyone is a legend. Now, if you have something like you have a podcast, you're a legend to me. Because you have a podcast, right? You're reaching people, you're talking to people. This podcast, we're recording it now, but people are going to be seeing it for, for whatever, days, months, years, whatever. Somebody 10 years from now might even stumble upon it and go, wow, this was an interesting podcast. I didn't know I could buy properties without any money. That's being a legend. Go out there and make your life worth living. Let people say, hey, I know that woman. I know that man. You know why? I'm going to be totally honest with you. When you die, after about a month, nobody's going to remember you were here. So be a legend while you're alive, right? Even look at it. Even even the people who, like, we hear about George Washington. We know who he was, but we say his name. We don't know who he was. We don't know anything about the guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just be a legend. Be a legend while you're alive. He did great things when he was alive. Other people do great things while they're alive, and you could be that too.
Well, thank you. I love that. I think that's awesome. Be a legend. I like that. All right. Well, thank you. And I will make sure that, I'll put your links and everybody can follow you through all the things that you shared. And so I just thank you for being on the podcast today.
I thank you too. I appreciate you having me.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Refine and Shine. We hope you find valuable insights and inspiration to fill your journey of continuous improvement. Remember, the key to success lies in refining your processes and letting your inner brilliance shine. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. Your feedback is greatly appreciated and helps us reach more listeners like you who are eager to refine and shine in all areas of life. Stay connected with us on social media for updates and additional resources and behind-the-scenes content. We love hearing from our listeners, so feel free to reach out with any suggestions, questions, or success stories you'd like to share.
As we wrap up, remember that the power to transform your life lies within you. Keep striving for growth, embracing change, and seeking opportunities to refine your skills. Together, let's continue to shine bright and make a positive impact in the world. Until next time, keep refining and keep shining.